So I'm joined here today with Ashley Dodge, who is the VP of Community at Capado, and her role is all about building a community for DevOps professionals. Um, but VP of Community, it's a job title that's often interpreted by the individual in that role, so it could be different for everybody. So I thought a great warm-up question could be just to frame your work and your role. What's a day in the life like for you?
Yeah, thanks, Lucy. It's so great to be here with you. So as VP of Community, I work with a global team at Kapato that really focuses on three core areas of supporting our community. So our team includes our development team, who are actually responsible for building out the platform that you see when you go to success.kapato.com. And so with that team, I work with them, meeting with different stakeholders. How is our community working as a vehicle for our support team and for our customer success teams? Where can our partners gain value in our community? And so working with those teams to kind of define the vision and new features that we need to bring to deliver great experiences for those audiences. The second team is our engagement team. So this is the team that kind of day to day interacts with our community, whether it's monitoring discussion threads or coming up with creative programs and challenges to help people pursue their learning goals, as well as managing programs like our mentorship and champion programs. So I provide a lot of just support and strategy for that team as well, helping to work through our event strategy, our partnership strategy, and figure out new ways that we can engage with different audiences like the Women in DevOps group that we launched last year. And then the third pillar is really around our content and education. And so this team's responsible for creating everything you see in the Kapato Academy. So this is things like learning modules, how-to videos, demo videos, and our certifications path. And so a lot of our work there is really focused around what's new in our product. What do we need to be teaching? What new levels of certification can we provide to help people gain the valuable skills they need to take the next step in their career, to be seen as an expert within the industry? And where do we have personas that are maybe underrepresented within the DevOps lifecycle that we should be creating content for and helping those people understand not only the technology, but the business processes that support, a healthy DevOps team.
Well, yeah, when you put it like that, you just think that you're approaching community from all fronts. There's just so many different angles you can take, and it sounds like you've got lots of bases covered there. So what attracted you to DevOps? Was it DevOps specifically, or the whole community building aspect that is required for DevOps at this point in time?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, like many people, it's a lot of the right things that kind of line up, right? So I started my career in community. I was working for a services company that provided recommendations for a local services provider. And so this is literal like phone and web recommendations for how to find a good plumber or a good remodeler. And so really being exposed to that community and how technology empowered people early on in my career was really inspiring and work that I found to be really valuable. As I progressed in my career, I found myself working for many years as a Salesforce consultant. And as a consultant, one thing that was really challenging is we would spend so much time up front, gathering requirements, getting, requirements approved by our customer, getting demos approved and features accepted, running UAT. And then we would have a release and things would be broken and the client would be frustrated. We just saw it in testing and it was right. Why is it broken now in production? This is impacting our teams. This is impacting our customers. And it was kind of this black box of release management. And we had an amazing team of really smart, really hardworking people. And you could just see the frustrations that would build with each release. And so really, when I started to hear about DevOps and when I started to hear about what Kapato was doing as some friends joined Kapato, it was a problem that I had a lot of empathy for, and that I'd kind of been in that seat before where, we're being asked for answers, we're being asked for solutions, and we didn't fully understand, why it was so much harder with Salesforce. And so I really kind of fell in love with the mission of Kapato. And then having that background kind of coming from community and that passion of building community from earlier in my career really kind of brought everything together into this role.
Yeah, I can see how you've come full circle. So it seems like the ideal role for you.
It
And
absolutely is.
you've had so many successes so far at Capado as well. We say DevOps is kind of like restoring quality of life for people, for professional teams. And also, yeah, it just sounds like DevOps, kind of those frustrations that you had as a consultant, is tying up those loose ends. So it must be a very fulfilling role. However, I heard from an industry report that apparently only 16% of teams, DevOps teams, actually include women. So why do you think this gender imbalance exists?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I was really blown away when I saw that stat too, because I think we've always felt it. When I go back to being a consultant and sitting in that room as a business analyst and later business architect, I was often the only female, both the client side and consulting side. And so I had felt that imbalance, but seeing the stat really brought to my attention that it wasn't just something I'd personally experienced, but that's how a lot of development rooms, were kind of balanced. And one example where I really realized the challenges that, especially in DevOps, we're talking about data migration, release management, the roles that are really taxed by the challenges of getting a healthy deployment out. One example of that was I was working for a really large client back in my consulting days, and we were out in Sunnyvale, and they had this whole building that was full of consultants, an entire building on the edge of San Francisco. So you can imagine the cost of operating that. And there were several rooms that were labeled bunk rooms. And they literally had, bunk beds stacked in these rooms, like with cots, and a full service kitchen. And the reason for that was on release weekends, the development team that was supporting the release stayed on site. So imagine being a mother with small children. Is that a role you're going to see yourself in? I think that's something that's incredibly hard. Even if you're not a mother, many women take care of their elderly family members or disabled family members. How are you going to give your evenings and weekends, throughout the month and throughout the year, to actually live, on site, at an office to see a release through? And so that was really one situation I found myself in, where I just realized this is kind of perpetuating the problem. And so when I started to see solutions like Kapato that were really focusing on making release days obsolete and making them, a non-event, that was one of the first visuals I had, is what are they going to do with these bunk rooms, right? People will be able to actually go home on the evenings and weekends to their families. And later in my career, I was traveling with a release manager, and we were the only two women on the project. And each evening, while we were kind of wrapping up in the office, she would FaceTime her children and read them bedtime stories over FaceTime. And that was just another example. Here it was, a mom making it work. She was so talented and so passionate about her career as a release manager, but she was, expected to be on site with a client, each week. On our releases, we would stay through Saturday and, kind of fly home after the business week had ended. And she was making it work through, FaceTime and some technology, but that's just such a hard situation. It puts strain on your partner as well. So I think those are some of the things that have kind of perpetuated as kind of what the role used to be. And now that technologies like Kapato exist, I think it's opening the door for more women to see themselves in DevOps roles, because it's not such a personal burden giving up your evenings and weekends. But because they haven't, historically been in those roles, we have a lot of catching up to do on getting women the experience they need to be able to take on those jobs now that they might be more suitable for their schedule.
Totally. That first example you gave just takes a sledgehammer to work-life balance. Like we've progressed so much in other areas. Why, just because it's the way it's always done, why is that? It's a less glamorous version of Google's sleep pods, isn't it?
Yeah, truly.
And also, I think these examples as well, the women aren't bending towards a bad work-life balance, right? It's almost like these attitudes are spurring innovation further, saying this is a real problem and it needs to be solved. So you've launched a Women in DevOps program at Kapato, and it's been running since March 21, so almost a year. And last time I heard you've certified more than 300 women. So congratulations. But generally, at the program's outset and, looking forward to 2022 and beyond, what are the goals of the program?
Yeah, we're really excited to have been able to launch that group, and really proud of the success that we've had so far. We've had over 500 women attend our various events. We host events each quarter. And like you said, about 300 of those women have gone on to get certified. So we try to tackle each event from kind of two perspectives. One is providing network, right? Helping women see other women in roles in DevOps and see themselves in those roles, and having kind of a free table to be able to ask questions and kind of carve out that career path. So we're really going to continue to lean into that this year. We have a pretty large, hopefully in-person event schedule coming up, and hoping to bring that Women in DevOps group to some of those in-person sessions. The second component is really around the education goal, right? How do we make sure that women are getting the credentialed experience they need to be seen as experts in DevOps, so that they have what they need to build out their resume, to have confidence taking on those roles, as a consultant, or raising their hand when opportunities come up, for an in-house position. And so we're continuing with those education goals. And this year we're hoping to certify 1,000 women in DevOps skills through Kapatos. So really accelerating, leaning into that. And one of the ways that we're doing that is by really trying to fortify our partnerships with other women or other organizations who are already focused on empowering women in tech. So earlier this year, we announced our partnership with Supermoms, which I'm just absolutely delighted. Heather Black has done so much for the Salesforce community and for the women in tech community. And so we'll be working with her and her organization actually as a Gold Course sponsor. So throughout 3 cohorts this year, we'll be providing hands-on DevOps skills training throughout their consultancy skills program. And then we are also partnering with them through various other events, like how to train up admins on core DevOps skills. And those are more like single day, couple-hour training events, a little bit more bite-sized information. And then also leaning on partnerships like with Rad Women, Girls Who Code, and Women in Tech. And just trying to really make sure that DevOps skills and DevOps jobs are represented in those groups. I think DevOps can sometimes be a little bit ambiguous. People don't know what roles encompass DevOps or how DevOps skills will impact their role. And so we're working on kind of defining out those core personas and those core jobs, and helping more women understand, where their skills might be really transferable into those opportunities.
And totally, I completely agree. Last year, around autumn time, fall time, I was asked to do a presentation on DevOps careers, and it's more like, okay, it's a part of a role, right? So there's so many ways you can transition into them. And yeah, I think bite-sized is great, like you're saying. Yeah. So there's all these great ideas, and it sounds like, you've made a massive impact with them. And I know we spoke about the work-life balance and the 2 examples that you gave. But, quick fire, what are 2, 3 challenges that you want to highlight to actually bringing women into DevOps?
Yeah, I think one of the core issues is representation. And it may sound like I'm repeating myself there, but it really is a big challenge for women. Prior to launching the Women in DevOps group with Kapatos last year, we launched a mentorship program. And when we had the kickoff for the mentorship program, we reached out to a lot of our seasoned professionals and, asked them if they would be willing to be mentors. And actually Ben was there for the kickoff, and we had some really great, folks on board to support the program. But at the end of it, we got a call, said, where were the women? There weren't any women mentors on that call. And we knew it going into it. And it wasn't for lack of trying. We had reached out to a lot of women and asked them if they would be willing to raise their hand and be a mentor and be part of the program. And there weren't any women available, right? They either were overburdened by the number of commitments they already had, being among that 16%, or they didn't feel like they had enough experience to raise their hand as a mentor. So I think really focusing on increasing that representation is incredibly important, making sure that we are continuing to make ways for women who are in DevOps to carve out a portion of their workday to work with others and to help we rise by lifting others, right? So how can we make sure that those women have a stage and a platform for doing that? I'm really happy to report that now, a year after launching our mentorship program, 10% of our mentors are women. So in 1 year alone, we made a huge stride on that. And it is a very deliberate and intentional effort. And I think we need other organizations to recognize the problem and to be just as deliberate in addressing it. So I think representation is definitely one huge area.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. Well done. And it's what you're saying is what we see as well. I think a lot of women is psychological, right? As well, women will hesitate before putting themselves forward, whereas men are kind of more assertive with their skills and talents. So we see that as well for people contributing to the blog. Oh, I'm not experienced enough, or I don't know how to write. We're just like, no, you are. So it's just different ways people can get involved to boost their confidence within their roles as well. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. Well done again for everything that you're doing for the community. And finally, how can people find out more?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, Lucy. So you can join the Kapato community. It's free to join. And there's a lot of different things that you can do there. So you can register by going to success.kapato.com. And then if you're particularly interested in women in DevOps opportunities, we have a discussion group. So in the main menu, if you go to groups, you can search and find the Women in DevOps group. And that's where you can stay plugged in on opportunities to join for the networking and training events, career opportunities. We're doing a series of kind of soft skill sessions this year, like how to apply Agile to your life. So some really exciting things coming up that you can get involved in there.
Fantastic. It sounds like that one place, and then you'll just access everything and end up going down a DevOps rabbit hole.
Yeah,
hours of entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, the training and education's all available there as well. It's more self-paced, but we really like to be able to bring groups together where they can ask questions live. And so that's really where, if you join that group, you'll get access to kind of when are those discussions happening, when can you network with others and take part in some of these other conversations that we're having.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks again for taking the time to speak with me.